Welcome to the Calm Mom Podcast, the show for ambitious women ready to get off the hot mess express. I know you've got a lot going on. You work so hard, you're raising an incredible family, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a certified master life coach, attorney, wife, and mom. And years ago, I was right where you are. I was running a busy law practice while raising a family, and I was on the fast track to burnout. I thought I just needed to be more organized or have better routines, but it was learning how to heal and regulate my nervous system that expanded my capacity to gracefully hold more of this big, beautiful life. You too are worthy of an extraordinary life in and beyond motherhood. Learning to be a calm, anchoring presence in your home and at work is going to be your superpower. If you're here to do the inner work that brings a sense of calm amidst the chaos, I'm here to join you on that journey. Each time you press play, your growth continues. So let's get at it. Welcome to the Calm Mom Podcast. It's Michelle Grosser here. Today we're going to talk about self-care. I'm so glad you guys are here. This is going to be a good one. I think, we see self-care, we hear about self-care ad nauseum. Instagram, people in their spa robes with their, eucalyptus steam. And I love all of that and I'm here for it. And I also want to give you guys the kind of self-care that actually helps you feel like a human again, that you can do in the day-to-day that doesn't cost $1 bazillion, just to help you feel more regulated and rested and like your life is actually yours. So if you are someone who, rolls your eyes at the idea of more self-care, I've definitely been there and I can relate because I felt like I was already drowning in all the things I had to do. And for so long, self-care just felt like another thing to add to that list. And if you can relate to that, then this episode is for you, my friend, because here's the truth. The most powerful forms of self-care are, I think, the least glamorous, right? But they're also the most healing, especially for your nervous system. Self-care, like real self-care, it's not so much about pampering ourselves or, these one-off kind of treats, but it's really more about like the day-to-day, right? How do you live your day-to-day in a way that maintains self-care, in a way that truly feels like you're caring for yourself? How do you care for your body? How do you care for, that vessel that holds your energy and your purpose and your entire lived experience? Because self-care, you guys, ultimately is nervous system regulation. It's how do we create this internal safety? How do we feel like we're cared for, like we're heard, like we're listened to, like we're able to rest, like we're validated, like our baseline can be restored, and preventing ourselves from just spiraling into burnout. So if you're a high achiever, if you're a mama, I think self-care can feel like a foreign language. We're used to just doing all the time, producing all the time, holding it all together, taking care of everyone else, putting our needs last. We're going to put a stop to that, right? Self-care, rest is not indulgent. Slowness is not laziness. And the truth is that a lot of these old paradigms are what has kept us stuck in the hamster wheel of fight or flight. So we're going to reframe self-care today. We're going to go beyond face masks and bubble baths and massages. Again, I'm here for all of that. But I want to show you 7 really underrated, underutilized, but biologically powerful forms of self-care that you can actually implement. So we're going to go through all 7. Some of them you're going to be like, yeah, I can start putting that into practice today. Other ones, it might feel like a lot. It might feel like too much. It might feel overwhelming. Start with one, right? As I'm going through these, start with one that you're like, okay, that one I think would actually do a lot for me. You know your body, you know your schedule, you know your routine, you know your patterns. Choose one that would have a high ROI for you. Focus on that one and then save this episode and, come back to it next week and choose another one. And slowly you can start to incorporate more of these really practical forms of self-care in your day-to-day. So the first underrated form of self-care is minding your own business. I said it. Minding your own business, you guys. Staying in your own lane is, guys, that's such a nervous system flex. Just staying in your own lane. And here's the science behind this. When you are constantly comparing yourself to others, when you're constantly trying to control what everyone else is doing or micromanage it, or like running after your kids for every little thing, or trying to control what people think about you or how they perceive you, or not disappointing everyone or what have you, your brain engages in something called the default mode network. And it's a part of your brain that kind of spins on your identity and your social status and lets you ruminate about those things. And this network, you guys, this default mode network, it's highly active when we're stuck in loops of comparison, loops of people pleasing, loops of perfectionism, loops of control. And your amygdala, that little alarm center in your brain, your threat detection center, also gets activated. And it gets activated when we feel judged. It gets activated when we feel rejected, because none of that feels safe. And it triggers a physiological response in our body that releases cortisol. And it locks our nervous system in, you guessed it, fight or flight. So every time you guys internalize someone else's expectations or take on someone else's emotions, right? Feel like you have to make everyone happy or feel better, or be pleased with you or not disappoint them. Your nervous system is literally registering that as a threat to belonging to a group, a threat to what might ultimately be your safety. And all of that adds to your allostatic load. That's the wear and tear on your system from chronic stress. So reclaim your peace. Stay in your own lane, right? Mind your own business. I am such a fan of Byron Katie's work. And at the beginning of her book called Loving What Is, she starts with this little story about how like all the time we are operating either in, there's 3 types of business, she says, right? We're either operating in our business, someone else's business, or God's business. And she says anytime we are not minding our own business, i.e. we're in someone else's business or we're trying to manage God's business, that leaves us feeling miserable. And I couldn't agree. Like if we're honest with ourselves, anytime we step out of our lane and try to meddle in someone else's business or try to control things we can't control, i.e. get into God's business, it leaves us feeling dysregulated and miserable and uncomfortable and sad and all of these things. So, limit the gossip, unfollow the accounts that make you feel less than or spike your anxiety. Let people have their opinions about you without letting them live rent-free in your mind. And all of that is going to be such a powerful form of self-care that's so underrated, right? Okay, the second form of self-care that I think is really underrated is having screen-free days, or at least parts of days. Screens, you guys don't need me to tell you this, you already know. That's like nervous system kryptonite, especially when you're already at the edge of your window of tolerance, especially when you're already feeling at capacity, right? Overstimulated, overextended. Screens, social media, that triggers a dopamine feedback loop. And every time that little ping or ding or notification goes off, right? Every new like or scroll, it's a micro hit of dopamine, and it reinforces this urge in us to keep checking. We're constantly checking, right? And over time, what does that do? It dysregulates our brain's reward system, and we become desensitized to dopamine. We need more of it in order to feel the same amount of reward. We know screen time also elevates our cortisol levels. It suppresses melatonin. Blue light right after sundown kind of messes up our circadian rhythm. So we're not getting as much REM sleep, which we really need for emotional regulation and for our memory. So man, if we're already overstimulated, right? Adding screens keeps our nervous system on high alert. Even like passive screen scrolling, you guys, it still arouses our nervous system, and it reduces our ability to really drop into that state where we feel really grounded and really safe and really connected. So make your own buffer zones, right? Maybe for you, it's like the minute I start making dinner, I plug my phone in somewhere out of sight in a drawer in another room, and I don't look at it for the rest of the day. Or you have a time, right? At 9 p.m., my phone goes away and I don't look at it again until, 8 a.m. the following morning. Or maybe on Sundays, you have screen-free Sundays, or, Saturday afternoons or Saturday mornings are screen-free zones. And your kids will watch you and they'll see this, and maybe it can even be a family thing. But guys, don't underestimate even like a small digital detox and the power that that has to help recalibrate your nervous system and increase your capacity for the things you want to be able to do, right? To focus and do deep work and create and connect and feel grounded and not like you're rushing everywhere and overstimulated. And this is a great way to start putting some boundaries around that. All right. Number 3, the third underrated form of self-care that's backed by science. And this one is like, it hits for me. Stop multitasking. That's one of the best things you can do or stop doing to help yourself feel better. Multitasking. First, let's just talk about what it does. First of all, multitasking increases your cognitive load and it activates your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that's responsible for paying attention. That's the part of your brain that's responsible for executive function. So if you feel like you've been living in brain fog, you have a hard time focusing, you have a hard time paying attention, getting things done, following through with a task, sitting down and busting out high quality work, it might be because you're trying to multitask. And multitasking is not what your brain is built for. Your brain is built to handle one complex task at a time. So when we're constantly trying to switch between tasks, right? Do 2 things at the same time. That first of all, that takes so much energy. We don't realize your brain burns through glucose and oxygen when you're constantly switching between tasks, and it leaves us feeling tired, less able to focus, right? Lower executive function, and it makes our body more prone to stress. And here's the other thing that's so interesting. Our brain, like neurologically, actually thinks of multitasking as a threat. When we multitask, the same parts of our brain light up as if we were being threatened, right? With a real stressor. Multitasking mimics a threat state. So it floods our system with the same thing, right? Adrenaline and cortisol, and it tries to keep up. But what does it do actually? It makes us actually make more mistakes, feel more frustrated, feel more dysregulated. So when we can put the multitasking away and really get intentional about being fully present, it allows our nervous system to experience this kind of moment of like completion, right? We start a task and we finish it without jumping between all these different tasks at the same time, right? That in and of itself can help us discharge stress. It can help us build resilience. We really need it. It's physiological safety to do one thing at a time. So let me be the one to gently break it to you. Very, very likely you are not a multitasker. You cannot multitask. I don't know what the statistics are off the top of my head, but if you look them up, I know it's only a very, very small percentage of humans who actually have the ability to multitask. Most of us are just trying to do different things at the same time, which we're not actually multitasking, right? We're just switching between tasks. So stop trying to do that. Monotasking is the new thing, right? One thing at a time. When you're playing with your kids, just play. When you're eating, just eat. When you're working, just work. If you're showering, just shower. Put everything else away. Your nervous system will thank you. So that's number 3. The 4th underrated form of self-care, hydrating. Y'all, hydrating your body is like top tier self-care. Your brain, just your brain, is about 75% water. Your brain requires that water, needs that water for neurotransmission. Even mild dehydration, you guys, if you were dehydrated, maybe, 1 or 2%, just that slight level of dehydration has a huge impact on your brain function, right? It affects your mood. It affects your concentration. It affects your energy levels. It reduces your blood volume. That stresses your cardiovascular system. It forces your adrenal glands to pump out more cortisol to compensate. So drink your water. Hydration is also really key in interoception. We've talked about interoception. We've learned as kids, a lot of us, most of us, have learned that we have 5 senses. That's not true. You have more than 5 senses. And one of the senses that most of us were not taught about is called interoception. And what interoception is it's your brain's ability to actually sense internal signals, hunger cues, right? When you're thirsty, when you're tired. Noticing those sensations is called interoception. Poor hydration equals poor or lower interoceptive accuracy, which means that when we're not hydrated, our ability to sense those internal cues is lowered, and that confuses our nervous system. Dehydration also makes our body feel under-resourced, right? Which can be interpreted as a threat or some sort of danger that can send us also into fight or flight. So drink your water, you guys. Drink your water. Start your day with water before you have coffee. That's what I do, right? I keep my water bottle right by my coffee machine and I fill it while my coffee is brewing. And I'll have maybe a hard-boiled egg or a thing of yogurt, and I'll just down like 12 to 16 ounces of water, chugging it before I even put anything else in my body as far as like coffee or caffeine or anything like that. You can add electrolytes, minerals, if that's helpful for you, but just make sure you're drinking enough water. Keep your water bottle near you, right? Add lemon if that helps. Add mint leaves, like make it visual, keep it there. And then when you pick it up to take a sip, don't just take a sip. Chug, right? Chug. Yes, you're going to be going to the bathroom. That's good, right? You're going to be flushing all this stuff out of your system and making sure that you are hydrated so your brain can function like it needs to. So take care of yourself, drink some water. All right, the fifth one I want to talk about, the fifth underrated form of self-care. I love this one so much. And I think we can probably all start to incorporate this form of self-care. Give yourself extra time. Give yourself extra time. If you think a task is going to take an hour, right? Give yourself an hour and a half to do it. If you have to drive your kids to soccer or school or piano or what have you, and it takes 20 minutes to get there, don't leave when you have 19 minutes left before you're going to be late, right? Give yourself extra time. Rushing is one of the most dysregulating things that we can do in our day-to-day. Rushing is not safe to our nervous system, right? Rushing triggers our HPA axis, which is our body's kind of stress cascade system. Even when our rush is like something that we've imposed on ourselves, right? We can't find something, so we're running late, or, we're slow getting out of the house in the morning. Like, we know we'll get there in time and it'll be okay. Our brain doesn't know that. Our brain perceives rushing as a threat. Because think about it in our evolution, right? If we were rushing, if we were hustling, if we felt like we weren't moving fast enough, it was probably because we were being chased by something or trying to escape something that was going to be a big problem for us, right? So our heart rate increases and our digestion slows down and our stress hormones spike. And we're not actually evading a lion, tiger, or bear, what have you. It's just like in the name of getting somewhere, quote unquote, on time now. But over time, guys, when we're always rushing, when we're running late and rushing all day long, one task to the next, one place to the next, kids rushing, we're rushing, everyone's rushing, that repeated micro stress of rushing, it raises our baseline arousal level. And that shrinks our window of tolerance and it actually makes us more reactive. Let's think about this for a second. Why? Because predictability creates safety. Margin creates safety. Slowness creates safety. So if you can just build in a little bit of buffer time, right? Leave 5 minutes before you usually do. Give yourself a little extra time to meet deadlines. That buffer time, that margin signals to your nervous system, there's no emergency, right? We're not running from any threat. And it really helps you to restore your baseline regulation and it reduces chronic tension. So overestimate how long things are going to take, right? And then you can adjust accordingly. But if you're chronically underestimating how long things are going to take, flip it. Like just flip it. Set yourself a timer, right? Figure out how long this actually takes and then add a few minutes. Give yourself some buffer time between meetings, right? Give yourself time to go to the bathroom, to collect your thoughts, to get your notes together, right? To not have to like rush through the hallway at work to get to the meeting. Give yourself time, prep in advance, whatever you can the night before, right? Give yourself a 10-minute buffer. And then don't use that extra time to like get caught up on something else that feels really urgent or behind, right? That time is not wasted. It's protective if you use it well. Okay. that's number 5. And now number 6. The 6th underrated form of self-care is really being intentional about putting aside a day or a couple days every week to rest and to reorganize. And I know there are some of you listening to this right now, and immediately you're like, well, Michelle, you don't understand. I've got 4 kids. They're all in competitive sports. They're in different grade levels. There's homework. I'm in, sports all weekend, like whatever. If you want to keep that excuse, go ahead and keep it. You're welcome to have it. However, I would highly encourage you and invite you to take a look at that and ask yourself, 1, is it actually true that you cannot set aside time to rest and reorganize? And if so, what is that telling you, or what is that costing you, right? Is this busyness a season that feels more like a sprint or like a marathon? Because if you do not have time to rest and reorganize, guys, and this was me for a long time, it will come back and collect on you, right? There's a cost to that. Your body, my body, we follow particular rhythms. That's how we were created, right? There's rhythms in our day. There's rhythms in how we sleep and wake, rhythms about when we eat, right? Our body follows a 24-hour circadian rhythm, but our body also follows these 90-minute ultradian rhythms. And without honoring these cycles, you guys, our nervous system never gets a chance to downshift. We're always in high gear. When we have constant sensory input on top of that, and we're just making decisions, that's burning through our prefrontal cortex's bandwidth. We are limited beings in that sense, right? We don't have unlimited capacity to make decisions and be stimulated with sensory input. We need rest days. Rest days, not just because they're nice and fluffy and we want to just nap and get mani-pedis. Our brain needs rest days. It needs to be able to consolidate memories. It needs to do its own neural pruning, right? Helping us integrate what we've been learning and regulate our emotions and restore our physical body and our emotional energy. And if we never stop to reset, go, 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 our system is stuck in that low-grade threat response. Rest isn't a break, right, from being productive. Let's rethink that. Let's shift how we think about rest. It is a requirement for sustainable function. So choose a day. If that feels off, that feels like too much, choose half a day, right? Where you're not going to have anything that you have to be at or have to do or rush anywhere, and use that time to actually rest, however uncomfortable it feels when you start, right? Reset your pace. Get outside and just feel the sun on your face. Go for a walk without your phone or your earbuds. Sit down and plan your meals for the week, right? Do some meal prep. Just breathe, grab a journal, read something for fun that isn't a self-help book. This isn't lazy, you guys. It's proactive nervous system care, which is ultimately self-care. And then finally, the last one I want to give you guys today, it is underrated, I think. Celebrating yourself. Celebrating yourself. Recognizing yourself. Just that act of self-recognition, it activates that part of your brain that releases dopamine, right? The dopamine pathways in your brain. Not only makes us feel good, it increases our motivation. It supports our learning through neuroplasticity. And when we take a minute to pause and be like, man, I crushed this week. Or that moment with my, 4-year-old was really tough and I handled it pretty well, right? This week was really there's a lot going on at work and a big project and we did it, right? I led so well. I'm really proud of my team and how they showed up. When you validate yourself, what happens is that you actually start reducing your reliance on everyone else affirming you, all that external approval. And that lowers your threat response and it increases your vagal tone. And when you can give yourself that validation, how do you feel? Connected. You feel safe. You feel stable. You feel grounded. Celebration creates internal safety. Again, just think about our evolution. If we were celebrating, that meant that we were probably not running from some sort of threat, right? We wouldn't be celebrating if we were under threat. Our brain still perceives it the same way. Celebration creates safety. It shifts our nervous system out of fear and into connection. And it tells our body, hey, we're doing pretty good, right? We're okay. We're safe. So I know you all have a to-do list, like start a ta-da list. Start like, ta-da, these are all the things that I did really well today. These are all the things I'm celebrating today. Maybe you write down 3 things on your ta-da list at the end of the day before you go to bed, right? I don't care how small they are. I helped my kid brush their teeth without having a meltdown, right? I made a meal that 4 out of 5 of us ate today without complaining. Someone complimented me on my shoes today, whatever it is, and let your body register safety and success and satisfaction. Okay. So this is it, you guys. This is your list. 7 underrated forms of self-care that don't require you to spend a ton of money, go get a spa membership, just simple nervous system nourishment that works from the inside out. Okay. So if this has been helpful, if you're nodding along like, yes, this is good. If you haven't yet, make sure you download the nervous system reset guide. The link is in the show notes. That guide is packed with practical tools you can start using right now to help you feel better. With all of this stuff, you guys, like if you think about even these 7 we talked about today, so much of this, so much of healing, so much of self-care, so much of regulating your nervous system actually isn't about doing more, right? It's not about doing more. A lot of it is addition by subtraction. It's about getting more intentional about doing the right things and more of those things, the things that feel good, the things that feel safe, the things that, make you see all of the growth and all of the good, all of the glimmers, these small intentional shifts that tell your body, I've got me. Ultimately, that's what self-care is, right? I've got me. I support me. I value me. I take care of me. So thank you so much for being here today, you guys. It was so good to share these with you. I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would be so awesome if you could take a moment to subscribe and rate the podcast. And if you have just a few more seconds to leave a quick review, they really help to get this podcast out to other moms like you. I read every last review, and trust me, when it's late at night or early in the morning before my kids get up and I'm working on bringing you all of this content, your reviews are what keep me going. Leaving a review is truly the best way you can thank me. And of course, DM me on Instagram. I love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to another episode. Head over to the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at michellegrosser.com, where you'll find free resources and more ways to connect with me. If you love the show, share it with a friend. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.